Islamic State group has claimed responsibility for a devastating suicide bombing at a Shia mosque in Islamabad on February 6, marking one of the deadliest attacks in Pakistan's capital in years. The powerful explosion in Pakistan's capital city left at least 31 worshippers dead and around 169 others wounded, according to figures monitored and shared by the site intelligence group. The bomber struck Imam Bargah Qasr-e-Khadijatul Kubra in Islamabad's Talai area during crowded Friday prayers, when the mosque was packed with devotees gathered for weekly congregational worship. Investigators say the ISIS attacker pushed up to the mosque's inner gate and then detonated his explosive vest among the Shia congregation, a detail highlighted in communications tracked by the site monitoring group. Authorities cautioned that the death toll may climb further, as many of the badly wounded worshippers remain in critical condition in Islamabad hospitals, fighting for their lives after the blast. Worshippers say that as they moved into the very first bow of namaz, the calm of Friday prayers was shattered by sudden bursts of gunfire, followed moments later by an extremely powerful explosion that ripped through the packed mosque hall. One survivor recounted that a brave volunteer security guard managed to shoot the attacker in the thigh as he tried to force his way further inside, but the wounded bomber still triggered his suicide vest, unleashing carnage among those praying nearby. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif condemned the bombing as a cowardly act of terrorism, vowing that the state would relentlessly track down everyone involved in the plot and ensure they face swift and uncompromising justice. Deputy Prime Minister Ishaq Dar denounced the assault as a heinous crime against innocent worshippers, stressing that targeting a mosque and civilians is a grave violation of Islamic teachings and of basic human morality. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, speaking through his spokesperson, said he condemned the bombing in the strongest terms and reiterated that attacks on civilians and places of worship are completely unacceptable and must never be normalized. The mosque bombing occurred against a backdrop of resurging insurgent violence in Pakistan's restive provinces, where militants operating in Balochistan and the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa border belt have stepped up deadly attacks on security forces and civilians. Pakistan's Shia community has endured years of recurring sectarian bombings and shootings, and despite tighter security measures around mosques and processions, they remain a frequent target for extremist outfits. Officials in Islamabad have repeatedly alleged that militant groups are using sanctuaries across the border in Afghanistan to plan and launch attacks inside Pakistan, accusations that the Taliban authorities in Kabul consistently reject as unfounded. The bombing in Islamabad unfolded as Washington escalated a broader campaign of airstrikes against ISIS-linked targets in Syria and parts of Africa, signaling a renewed push to degrade the group's global networks. U.S. Central Command reported conducting 5 strikes across Syria between January 27 and February 2, hitting what it described as ISIS communications, logistics nodes, and weapon storage locations used to support the group's operations. According to CENTCOM, those missions destroyed an ISIS communication hub, a key logistics node, and several weapon storage facilities, using about 50 precision-guided munitions delivered by manned aircraft and drones. On January 10, as part of Operation Hawkeye Strike, more than 20 U.S. aircraft took part in a large wave of raids in Syria, hitting around 35 ISIS targets with over 90 precision munitions in a single day of coordinated attacks. American officials said these strikes formed part of a retaliatory campaign after a December ambush near Palmyra, where a gunman linked to ISIS killed several U.S. personnel and wounded others during counterterrorism operations. U.S. Africa Command acknowledged that on December 25 it helped carry out strikes in Nigeria's Sokoto state, targeting what were described as ISIS-linked militant camps that served as operational hubs for training and planning. Analysts and regional reporting say the Nigeria operation employed Tomahawk cruise missiles launched from offshore vessels along with MQ-9 Reaper drones, focusing on fighters tied to Islamic State-linked networks active around the Sahel and northwest Nigeria. Officials framed the wider campaign as an effort to disrupt ISIS command and control and support structures stretching from Syria into North and West Africa, aiming to limit the group's ability to coordinate attacks and move fighters or weapons across borders. Under Donald Trump's second term, relations between Washington and Islamabad moved into a cautious yet pragmatic reset, with both sides trying to turn past mistrust into a more transactional, interest-based partnership focused on security and economics. From mid-2025, Pakistan's powerful army chief Asim Munir and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif made several high-profile trips to Washington, holding repeated meetings with US officials and Trump himself in a bid to anchor this new understanding. The two governments broadened cooperation against ISIS-K and the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan by setting up a more formal counter-terrorism dialogue, enabling deeper intelligence sharing, joint targeting, and operational coordination against common militant threats. This closer alignment was exemplified when US and Pakistani services jointly helped track and capture a senior ISIS-K figure tied to the 2021 Kabul airport bombing, with officials on both sides framing the arrest as proof of a revived security partnership. 2025 tariff and market access deal, followed by major US-backed financing for the Reko Diq mining project in Balochistan, pushed economic stabilization to the center of the relationship, linking security cooperation to Pakistan's fragile financial recovery. For Washington, engaging more deeply with Pakistan offered access to coveted critical minerals and rare earths, while also giving the US added strategic leverage in a region shaped by Afghanistan's turmoil and China's growing footprint. Shehbaz Sharif's government publicly praised Trump as a man of peace for his claimed conflict resolution efforts and, in a symbolic gesture of goodwill, formally endorsed calls for him to be considered for a Nobel Peace Prize.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.